Let's start our July Cuties table topper. And let's hurry. We're a little late. Hey everyone, Cristin here, and it's time to start our July Cuties table topper. So a couple quick notes. Make sure to subscribe to the Cristin Creates channel on YouTube. I get a lot of questions of how to know when there's a new video posted. If you click the subscribe button and that little bell, you'll receive notifications. It comes off on your phone as a little notification saying Cristin Creates posted a new video. So very easy to do on the YouTube channel. And then I also post the videos to our Facebook page, Cristin Creates on Facebook. It's a group, and we have lots of fun in that group. So if you haven't joined yet, make sure to join that as well. All right, so let's get started. We are starting the July Cuties late, quite late. It's the 11th today, I think. So we're starting quite late, and so we're actually going to have to kind of rush through it a little bit, and then we'll have to jump into the August Cuties as well. Hopefully a little bit of time in between to work on Falling for Autumn. So we will be taking breaks from our big project, the Falling for Autumn quilt, to work on our monthly Cuties though. So don't worry, we're going to do it all together. All right, so if you made packets, so I did a prep video on what is needed to prep all of your fabrics. I forgot to include in that prep video the batting cut guide, so I will add it to this video that will tell you all of the batting that you need. So if you made packets, you're gonna grab your first packet, which is your centers packet. All right, so we're going to work on the center blocks today. There are 4 blocks that we need to do. I'm going to try and do them in 2 hoopings. The process will be the same. So if you choose to do 1 in each hooping and do all 4, great, that works fine. If you choose to try to merge a couple of them together, I'm going to show you how to do that. I use Embellishment Essentials. I am an affiliate with Embellishment Essentials, so if you are in the market for embroidery software, please use my affiliate link to purchase Embellishment Essentials. And again, either way will work totally fine, and the tutorial will work fine either way as well. And I'll even try and tell you where to advance forward if you're not going to join them together. But I'm planning on doing 2 in 1 hooping, and this is a piecing project, so it's a little bit more advanced, but I'm going to show you step by step how to do it very simply. So again, if you're using Embellishment Essentials, join along. If you're doing them individually or you're going to merge them on your machine, that's fine. Just make sure there's a couple of important tips on this one. So I'll give you one right now. You want the quilting on top of the block. All right, so we're going to do the entire pieced block, and then we will do the quilting. So if you're going to do it on your machine, just make sure that you're lining up that quilting right onto the block properly. And I will show you how in the Embellishment Essentials part, but if you're not going to use software, it still will give you a visual of where that quilting is going to go. All right, so let's get started talking about what we need for today. So we are working on page 24. That's where we'll do the center blocks, and I'm just going to pull everything out of my packet that I've already prepared. So I like to put fusible backing onto all of my fabrics. On piece projects, that's completely optional, totally up to you. I think that it looks crisper and stays down nicely, but I also use an iron in the hoop to be able to get all of my parts to lay down very crisply. So I will add a link here for my iron. It's a small little iron that fits perfectly in the hoop and works really well for piece projects like this. Or you can use the Clover folding pen. I will add a link for that as well. Excuse me. Clover folding pen. I have one of those. I believe it's Katie Mayo that sent me one, and that works great too. So there's lots of ways of doing these piece projects. So we're going to start by talking about the parts that we need, all of the pieces. All right, so the first one is our main fabric. Even if you don't back your pieced projects, so all the applique pieces or your piecing parts, if you don't back those with stabilizer, that's optional, but at least do your main fabric. Absolutely, I really recommend doing your main fabric. It helps ward off puckers, helps it to look like a nice straight, even block, all right, without any puckering. So this one, it is white with white flowers on it. You might not be able to see those flowers. I'm not sure. Yeah, I probably can see them, hopefully. So that's what we're going to start with. And our main fabric, we're starting with that 7.5 by 7.5, and there are 4 of them. And like I said, I highly recommend backing them with fusible stabilizer, all right? And then another thing, when you lay these down, when I tell you to put down your main fabric, check to make sure, because look at the back side versus the side with the flowers on it is pretty similar. All right, so you want to be able to check and make sure that you're putting the correct side up. So one thing that I'll give you a tip on, when I put my fusible backing on these, I cut my fusible backing a 1/4 inch smaller than my fabric. So that's totally optional, but it helps to be able to see. You can see that little edge there, and then you know that that's your front. All right, so a little tip there. So 7.5 by 7.5, 4 pieces. So my lining, my, what do you call it, fusible backing, I did it 7.25 by 7.25. And then I just ironed that on. So either way will work, but it just helps to be able to see which is the front and which is the back. 4 pieces, 7.5 by 7.5. That is our main fabric, all right? And then we have our square pieces. There are 3 squares. And like I said, we're going to do 4 blocks. So I'll show you how that's all going to work and how it's going to come together and how we're going to sew it at the end. And then don't forget your quilting on the top. We'll talk about that too. So the first one is square 1. So square 1, you can see, is this red floral block, all right? Flowers on it on the red. All right, and then there's 4 pieces and they are 4 by 6. And again, you can see my little tip on the fusible backing. So it's not necessary on something like this. You can easily tell what is the front, but it makes it nice and easy to be able to add your backing on. So if you're doing the entire fusible backing on your whole piece of fabric, which is what I usually do, then you can't really do this. But if I did these individually, just because there weren't as many as like an entire quilt project. So that's my little tip, is you can make your fusible backing a little bit smaller than your main fabric. So 4 pieces, this is square 1, 4 pieces at 4 by 6. And again, I stabilized mine, but that doesn't mean you have to. Some people prefer not to on pieced projects. That's completely up to you. All right, so 4 by 6, 4 pieces, square 1. And then we have square 2, which is this houndstooth. All right, houndstooth red fabric, and again 4 pieces that are 4 by 6. I did back mine with fusible stabilizer, completely optional. If you choose, like I said, that clover folding pen works really well, or that small iron works great in the hoop. 4 pieces, 4 by 6. This is square 2. All right. And then for square 3, these are larger. So you can see these are the red with white dots on it. And these are 6 by 6, 4 pieces at 6 by 6 for square 3. All right. And again, I did back mine with fusible stabilizer, completely optional. These are part of that piecing project. All right. Square 3, 6 by 6. And then the only other thing that we need is our batting, all right? So we will do our batting as part of this project. And I'm going to show you how you can do the first parts of the quilting so that we get our placement and tack down of our batting and placement and tack down of our main fabric. And then we will leave the quilting to the end. And I will show you using Embellishment Essentials how to do that. You can probably do that on your machine. I'm not super savvy with that. It's so easy using software, so that is what I do, but I will show you the technique. So for our batting, we want 4 pieces of batting that are 6 by 6. So our final cut size on this is 5.5 by 5.5, and that's how we know that we want our batting that is 6 by 6. It's always a 1/2 inch larger, at least. It can be even larger, but at least a 1/2 inch larger will help it to tack down, and then we will trim it so that it is not in our seams. All right. we are going to use quilting design. So if you've bought the bundle, please, if you have not bought the bundle yet, make sure to use our sponsors affiliate link. It is underneath this video, and what it does is you click on that link to purchase the quilting bundle. It takes you to Kimberbell, and it puts a little cookie on your computer saying that you're supporting our sponsor, which is My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop, for this project. So if you haven't already bought it, make sure to use our affiliate link. Like I said, it's underneath this video. Click on that. It takes you to Kimberbell, and then just type Cuties 2 and you'll see the bundle pop up. So there is a quilting bundle specific to this July through December project that we're doing. And in that bundle, we are going to use Center Ant. It's called Center Ant. It's KDQ 151. That's the quilting design that we're going to do. And like I said, we're going to do that at the end of the project of this specific squares project, but we're going to do the first part. So let me just go over that real quick in case you're new. There are 5 parts to the quilting design. All right, number 1 is the placement of the batting, the placement stitch for the batting, and then number 2 is the tack down stitch of the batting. We want both of those. We're going to use those at the beginning. And then number 3 is placement of the main fabric and the placement stitch for the main fabric, and then number 4 is the tack down stitch of the main fabric. So we're going to use those first 4 parts. We are going to use those from the beginning, but number 5, this last one, we're going to do at the very end after we've done our entire piece project. All right, and I will show you in software how to do that. You can do it on your machine if you choose, or you can use software. Either way works. I like to be able to see it on my big screen and move things around as I want them, and I will show you how to do that. So there are several parts to that. Like I said, we're going to move some parts. I'm going to show you where that quilting goes, and that's a part 2. I already looked at it to see how that's going to work out. So I think that's all we need. There are special trim instructions on this, but if we're quilting, it's actually super easy. You just look at that 1/4 inch seam allowance around the edges, and it makes it a lot easier for cutting at the end. So we're going to do 4 blocks, so kind of a big day. So stay with me. We'll do each part step by step together. Let's get started. Hi everyone, so I'm at my computer now, and like I said, I'm going to show you how to merge 2 designs in one hooping if you choose. You don't have to, but even if you're not going to, if you're going to do them individually, you still want to see how to move the quilting design to the end and where to move the quilting design so that it is aligned correctly with the center squares. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm opening up Embellishment Essentials. That is the embroidery software that I use. I'm going to go to File, New Page. All right, and down here at the bottom, so this is Embellishment Essentials. If you're new to Embellishments, I'm going to go over some of the basics. I think it opens for you as a white or a yellow screen in the background. I don't recall exactly what mine was, but if you go to this Preferences folder in the display settings, I think it was, that you can change right here. So background color. So I changed mine to a light pink. That's why mine looks pink. All right, so down here at the bottom right here where I'm circling my mouse, you can see that it shows that I'm on an 8x8 hoop. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change that. I'm going to go up to this Preferences folder and I'm going to look through my hoop sizes, and you can add hoops too. I added my 10x10 and my 6x6 hoop, but most of the hoops are listed here, so just look through and find the one that you're looking for. I'm looking for my 8x12 right there. It started as metrics and you can edit it. I changed mine to have the numbers in the front not be metric. The inches size for me, it worked easier. So whatever you want. I'm going to go ahead and click on that 8x12, and then you can see that we're zoomed in where we're not going to see all of the hoop, and I want to use all of my hoops. So I'm going to go up to this compass button and I'm going to click H for hoop. And you can see that it zooms in so that I can see the entire hoop all at once. All right, and you can also use your mouse button. The scroll on your mouse button will zoom in or out as well. Either one of those will work fine. All right, so on this project, on this one specific, we are going to bring the embroidery design in first, which is actually the piecing project. So I'm going to go here to Merge Stitch File, and click on that, and then I am going to close up my quilting, and I'm going to find where I have my embroidery file. So all it's doing is it's asking you, where do you have this file that you want me to open up? So I've got mine on my desktop, and I have it in my folder that's called Cuties Table Topper. So there's the embroidery files right there. If I click that plus sign, I can see all the different formats, which actually I deleted all of them except Pez because that's what I use for my machine. So I'm going to click on the Pez, and then I'm going to scroll down, and I'm looking for that center square right there. Center square. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on that. It will go to the center. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it. I have to click on it to know what's going to move. So if I click on that, the other way of doing it is to click on here. Either one will work fine. So then you can use your arrow keys to move it up, or you can use your mouse. Either one will work. So since I want to have 2 in one hooping, I'm moving it up, but I want to warn you, if you move it all the way to the top, you're not going to have room for your quilting design, and we will align it, so we're not going to worry about that. But if you're not using software and you're using your machine, I want to point out that you have to line it up with your quilting design, and if you bring the embroidery design all the way to the top, then your quilting won't have room. All right, so I'm just going to move it here. It's not going to matter for us because I'm going to align it, so it doesn't matter where I put it really, but I'm going to put it near the top for now. All right, so then I have all of these squares. So what I want to do, since this is a piecing project and I want to do 2 in one hooping, I'm going to change these colors because you can see that there are a lot. I'm just clicking outside so that they're not all selected. So the default 1 blue and default 2 orange, there's several of these. And if I were to do a color sort later, it will join those, and that would defeat the whole purpose of them. These all have a specific purpose, so if I change the colors of them, then we can decide what will join and what will not join. So I'm going to go ahead and go through, and I'm going to just change all these colors before I do a copy and paste to be able to get a second square. All right, because like I said, I'm going to do 2 in one hooping. You can do 1 in one hooping and you won't have to worry about this, but it will save on time, save on stabilizer, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to quickly run through these, and I'm just going to change the colors very simply. So this 1-1, I clicked on the color, and I'm going to click on the color down here in this color properties. If your properties tab is ever missing, you would go up here, I think it's to view, yep, toolbars and windows, and make sure that all of these are selected. If your toolbar here, properties tab, is ever missing, that's how you get it back. All right, so back to this. So 1-1, I'm clicking on 1-1, and then I'm going to click on the color, and I'm on palettes right now because I was doing a different project and I worked on palettes. You need to make sure that you're on threads, because if you do palettes, it's just showing you the colors that's already in your project, and that would be a mistake since we obviously want different colors so that they don't join. So I'm going to click on this threads view. Now your colors may come up differently. Mine are on Filtech Glide because that's what I have as my preferred thread color. So you can change your preferred by going here. There's this preferred tab. You can change that. And then your colors will come up the same if you're using Glide or whatever you choose. But it doesn't matter what color you choose. You just want to choose a color that's different than what's already here so that we can choose what joins and what doesn't. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the first one that comes up. That's the easiest. So I'm going to click on this dark aqua and say OK. All right, so that was for 1-1. Now we're on 1-2. I'm going to click on 1-2, and then I'm going to go down here to this properties tab and click on the color. So the first one that comes up for me is Blaze. I'm going to go ahead and click that and say OK. And then the next one is Wildflower. You can see Wildflower is on here 3 times, and so those would join if we don't change the color. So I'm going to go ahead and click on 1-3, click on the color, and the first color that comes up for me is Monarch. And like I said, it doesn't matter what color as long as we change the color. So the first one that comes up is just the easiest. And I forgot to bring my microphone over. Sorry, hopefully you could hear that. Hopefully now you'll hear it even better. Sorry about that. All right, so 1-3, I'm choosing Monarch and saying OK. All right, and then 1-4, I'm going to click on the 1-4 and click on the color. And we already used dark aqua. You can see them right up here. So I'm going to use the second color down, which is Marine, and say OK. All right, 1-5 is our next one. Click on the color down here. We already used Blaze, it's right up here. So we're going to use the second color down, which for me is Oriole. And then 1-6, click on the color, and we already used Monarch right up there. So I'm going to use the next color down, which is Cranberry, and say okay. All right, 1-7, click on the color, and we already used the first two, so I'm going to go down to the third color, which is Hawaiian Blue, and say okay. And 1-8, click on the color. We already used the first two, so I'm going to use number 3, which is Coral for me. And then 1-9, and this is the one that's going to tack it all down. This one, I'm going to click on the color, and we already used Monarch and Cranberry, so I'm going to go to Filtech. The third one down for me is Filtech. All right, and then this gray, there isn't another one, so you can leave it if you choose. I'm going to go ahead and just change it since I'm here. I'm on 110. I'm going to click on the color, and the first color that comes up for me is medium gray. Say okay. So those are done. You click outside of the workspace, so you can see that we've got all of these. We've chosen the color so that what we want to join will join, and what we don't want to join will not. So this is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I'm going to click on here. You can do it over here, or you can click down here and scroll up. Either way, whatever works, you just want to make sure that you have all 10 parts of that first design. All right, so this way makes it easy for me. So I'm going to say Control-C, like copy, on my keyboard, Control-C, and then Control-V. And I know that that's hard to hear sometimes on these videos, so I'm going to say it's V like victory. All right, V like victory. And that creates a second design. So you can see here that now there's 2 designs. It looks over here like there's only one because it's on top of that first one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to use my arrow key, and I'm going to move it down. And I'm going to move it down toward the bottom, but I'm not going to be real insistent on exactly where it's going to go, because like I said, we need to bring in that quilting design, and we need room for that. And so we're going to move them around later anyway. It's not going to matter. All right, so that's our first and our second of our embroidery design. So the only thing is we want the quilting design too. So I'm going to show you how to do this. You could bring in the quilting design before the embroidery design and move those around, and that works fine too, but I'm just going to do it this way since we brought in our embroidery design first. So we have the 1 and the 2 designs of our embroidery. Now we're going to go ahead and bring in that quilting. So I'm going to go to Merge Stitch File, and I'm going to close up my, let's see, the embroidery designs, and I'm looking for the quilting designs. So right here, Cuties Volume 2, July through December. Open that up, embroidery files. Pez is what I use for my machine. And we're looking for Center Ant. So it's going to say Center July. There it is, Center and Triangles July. So click on that. And then we are looking for the center design. Now, if you only have a 5x7 hoop as your largest hoop, you would want to use this design. And you can see it just takes off part of the sides. If you have a larger hoop, like I'm using my 8x12 hoop, then I'm going to scroll down a little bit to find the 6x10 version, because our quilting design, we want a 6x6 quilting design. They made this one smaller so that it will work for those using a 5x7 hoop. But if you can, the 6x10 makes it a little bit easier for trimming. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I'm going to double click on it. It goes to the center. Now, again, we want to change this one as well. I'll show you why. So if I open up the third design, which is that quilting design, there's those default blues and oranges again. And those will join and defeat the purpose. It would make it so that in one step, you are putting down your batting and your main fabric, and then you're going to have batting in your seams and the whole bit. There's a purpose to each of these. So we want those stops. So to stop them, we need to put in our the changes of the colors, and we have to remember what we already used so that we're not using them again, so that they join with here. So I'm going to go ahead, and I hope that makes sense. So 3-1, I'm going to click on 3-1. I'm going to click on the color. Just follow along with me and you'll see. We know that we used the first 3. We used dark aqua, marine, and Hawaiian blue, or whatever you chose, and you can always see them up here. You can't while this box is open. I can say cancel and open this. So if you're not remembering the colors you used, you can click that plus sign to be able to see all of the designs that you already used. All right, so back to that color. So I used the first three. I'm going to use Mercury, the fourth one down, and say okay. And then for 3-2, click on 3-2, click on the color. We used the first three, so I'm going to use Lava, which is the fourth one down. And then 3-3, click on the color, and we've now used the first four, so I'm going to use the fifth one, which for me is Tropical. And then 3-4, click on the color, and we want the fourth one down, I believe. No, we used Lava already. So we're going to use Strawberry Blonde. Did I already use Mercury? I got to make sure. Forgetting. No. Okay. Mercury, Lava, Tropical, Strawberry Blonde. All right, so those are the colors that I'm using for my quilting. And then this default 17 turquoise, you could leave it again because there's only one of them. I'm going to go ahead and just change it because I'm here and it's easy. So I'm going to click on 3-5, click on the color, and the first color that comes up for me is Sprout. And say okay. If you wanted different colors on your the quilting of your center blocks, then you would have these different, but you're not going to want to because we're going to sew all those 4 blocks together. You want them to be pretty uniform. All right, so that's 3-5. So those are done. I'm going to close that up, and I'm going to close up the first design also, just so that I have room. Now, notice I'm still highlighted just on the quilting step, so it's important to click outside of the box so that nothing is selected, and then click on the item that you want to move. So I'm on number 3 here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this up, and I'm going to move it all the way to the top, making sure not to go over those hoop lines. You can see this yellow line here. This is your hoop line, and you can't see it super well at the top, but you want to make sure not to go over it. If you go over it, it usually will show on your software, but it will definitely show when you bring it to your machine and it goes, I can't do this. It's outside of your stitch area. So make sure not to go over those hoops, okay? So that's one of them. We need 2 of these. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a copy and paste. And on this, I've got it selected right now. I'm on the third design. I'm going to say Control C to copy it and Control V like victory to paste a second one. And again, it goes right over the top of that third design. So I'm just going to use my arrow keys and I'm going to move it down. And we don't have to be exact because we are going to do a line and distribute, but just make sure to move them out of the way for you. All right, so we don't want to do a color sort. We don't want to do anything until we've got these aligned in the way that we want them. And then I'm going to show you an extra step. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close number 4 here. So I am going to go ahead. This is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click on number 1, the first design, and I'm going to click on number 3. So to click on 2, you have to hit the control button on your keyboard and hold it down while you click number 3. And you can see that I have the first embroidery design and the first quilting design, and I'm going to go ahead and do an align and distribute so that those are centered exactly right. So I'm going to go up here to utility, because you can eyeball it, but it still may not be just right. So I'm going to just go ahead and use my align and distribute. And these placement lines should work. You should be able to line that up against here, but we've got this align and distribute button. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go to align and distribute. Remember, I have my first and my third designs selected. And I'm going to do align and distribute, and I'm going to say center, center. I'm on this align tab and say apply. And you saw that it moved. All right, hopefully you saw that it moved. So I'm going to say close. Now you can see that that gray square that we saw earlier, it wasn't a square, it was like a trimming guideline, that is now lined up. So you could use that. In fact, let me show you on this next one. So if I have 2 and 4, I'm going to hit that control button so that I have 2 and 4. You can see that this gray button, this gray trimming line, we want it lined up here. So really, let me click outside of the box. If I clicked on just number 2, I should be able to move this to have, I can use that as putting it up against that placement and tack down of our main fabric, that outer square. That's where we want it. So now we can do the align and distribute just to make sure it's exactly right. But for those of you that aren't using software and you're using your machine to move it around, use this outer trimming line and line it up against your placement and tack down of your main fabric that's in the quilting. This box here, you can see this outer box. All right, that's what this is lined up against. But I'm going to check it just to make sure I've got it just right. You could also even zoom in to see that you're on it by using your scroll button on your mouse. Either way, whatever works for you. So again, I'm going to hit 2 and 4, and I'm going to click Align and Distribute, Utility, Align and Distribute, Center, Center, and we shouldn't see too much movement. So pay attention to here. Let's see how we did. Yeah, it didn't move at all. So using those gray lines to line up on the outer square, that's your placement and tack down of your main fabric, that will work as well. All right, so the other thing before we do anything else is you want to make sure to that nothing is over the hoop line. I'm going to just zoom out. Looks like this one is a little close. This one looks really good. This one is a little bit close. So I am going to hit 1 and 3, hitting the control button to have both of those, and I'm going to use my arrow key to come down 1 bit just to make sure that I am not over that hoop at all. Okay, now before we do a color sort, because we remember we don't want, if we did this right now, if we left this as is, we're going to run through all of the first embroidery design, then all of the second one, and then we're going to do all of those quilting. So we're basically going to put our batting on top of this. That's not what we want. All right, we want to move this around in a way that 3 and 4 are actually at the top, but the last step of 3 and 4 are at the bottom. How confusing is that? All right, so let me show you here. If I click on this and click right click, if I say move first, let's see if, yep, it moves up to the top. So that's a good idea. So right here, this number 4, right click on it and click move earlier, actually, because now we want it to be number 2. So I'm going to say move earlier, and I'm going to do it again, move earlier. So now I have both of my quilting designs first, 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 are our embroidery designs. But don't forget, we want that number 5. So let me open this up so you can see. Click outside so that it's not selected. We want this as our very last step. This one, and on number 2, 5, right there, that one. We want those to be the last step. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It doesn't like to move it outside of the design. Like if you were to say that I click on this and click move last, it doesn't, it just still stays within, it's last already within that design. So it doesn't do it that way. I think, let's see if we tried to just actually manually move it. I think it still doesn't. No. All right, so I'm going to show you a different way. All right, I'm just closing up those folders. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be a little bit different, so pay attention. So File, New Page. All right, and then I'm going to click back to that other untitled tab. Yours is probably untitled 1 and 2. I've been using a lot of Embrilliant, so I've got several that I've deleted. So mine says untitled 22 and 23. So for you, it's probably untitled 1 and then untitled 2. And untitled 2 is an empty one right now. Untitled 2 has 4 designs. So what I'm going to do is I am going to click all of these. So I clicked from the bottom and clicked and dragged up so that I have all 4 designs. You could also probably do it this way. Yep, whatever works, however you get all 4 designs. And I'm going to say Control C to copy, and then I'm going to click on this next tab, that empty tab, and I'm going to say Control V like victory to paste it. And that didn't do it. There we go. Control V to paste it. All right, so then we have the same, these are going to be the same. So we've got untitled 1 for you probably, untitled 2, and they are the same. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change it so that I am going to take out, I'll show you, this is, pay attention here. So number 1, I'm going to open up this first design and I'm going to click on 1-5 right here, and I'm going to click delete. Delete. And then 2-5 right there, delete. All right, so that those designs are not in there anymore. I have all of the placement and tack down of the batting and the main fabric, and then that's it. I don't have the quilting design. So I have those. That's how I want that for now. And then I'm going to go to this other, that second tab, click on that, and I'm going to click on 3, all of design 3, and click delete, all of design 3, and click delete. And then for this 1 and 2, I am going to click over on the side and get the first 4 parts. See, I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 highlighted, and I'm going to click delete. And then same thing with this number 2, I'm going to open it up, and then I'm going to click on the first 4 parts, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, and 2, 4, and I'm going to click delete. So all I have are those quilting designs, but notice they're exactly lined up perfectly because we did that copy and paste. All right, so then I can take these, I'm going to highlight them. I clicked from the bottom and dragged up so that they're highlighted. I'm going to say Control C to copy. I'm going to go back to that first tab and I'm going to say Control V like victory. My V does not seem to be working. There it is. All right. And it brings them to the bottom and it brings them on top. It brings them exactly when I say the bottom, like the bottom of all of these designs, which means that it will be the last part. So it will be on the top. All right, so you saw how we did that. It keeps it lined up perfectly and it keeps it so that we can have just the quilting part. We want, when I open this up, I can show you, we want that placement of the batting, the tack down of the batting, the placement of the main fabric, the tack down of the main fabric, and then we jump right into the embroidery designs. And then after those are completely done, we can do our ant quilting on the top of the entire project. All right. So that is perfect, pretty fun, but we still have to do that color sort because right now, let's see if I click outside, then I can see all of them. We have 30 color steps right now, 30 color steps between all of these. And if we didn't do a color sort, which I'm pretty sure you can't do that on the machine. I could be wrong. I'm not super savvy on my machine yet because Embellishment Essentials is just so much easier to me. But if you do it on your machine, I don't think you can color sort so that you're doing them all together. I think only on software, but I could be wrong about that. But if you were to do it that way, then you're doing all of 1, all of 2. You're doing them different separately, whereas on here, I can join them so that I'm doing all of these parts together. So let's go ahead and try that so that I can show you what's going to happen. So like I said, right now we have 30 color steps. We should be able to get that down to half, I'm thinking. Let's just see. So if I go here to Utility, Color Sort, and don't forget, I want to point out before we do this, you have to do that Align and Distribute first. You have to have it all together so that you can do your color sort. You don't want to have that. Once you do your color sort, it's going to go from 6 steps. We right now have 6 designs and it's going to bring it down to 1 design. So once you do that, there's no moving of the design. So make sure that this isn't over your hoop. Make sure that it's aligned in the way that you want it, and then do your color sort. So Utility, Color Sort, and it thinks, and it says it's reduced it by 14 color changes. Now, before I close this, I want to point out RHS pre-sort is not selected. Force applique, position, and material are not check marked. Tolerance is at 0. Tolerance level is at 0. You need these same steps as what I have, these same settings. Otherwise, your results will be different. All right, so make sure you have these same settings. Now, once you have that all done, I highly recommend clicking New View. And what that will do is it'll open another tab and we'll go from 6 designs to 1 design, and you can check it. In case anything isn't correct, then we still have that untitled tab that we can refer back to. All right, so New View, and you see it opens up a new tab. And now everything is in 1 design, so we can check it and make sure it's accurate. So let's go ahead. So here we have the placement of the batting. So the placement stitch on both of the designs, both blocks, we have the placement stitch, and then the tack down stitch of the batting, and the placement stitch of the main fabric and the tack down stitch of the main fabric. And then we have those piecing parts. So see, we can put them both down at the same time. We're saving so much time than doing them individually. So there's our first one, our first square part, and then our second square part, our third, oh, this is going to be that, what do you call it? Like a decorative stitch, looks like, yep, decorative outline. All right, and those are together, so that's perfect. And then our placement of our next square, well, I'm not going to try and just decipher what they are. I will go over that step by step when we get to there. So 1, 9, those are both together perfectly. And 1, 10, there's our decorative outline again. And then we have the final one. I believe that's the final one. I'm not certain, but let's just keep going. Oh, there it is. There's the second one. So they're together. That's the thing that we want to check, is make sure that they're both together. All right, and there's for 13, they're both together, and for 14. Now this is the trimming guideline, I believe it's called. We're not going to need that because we are quilting. So when you quilt in the hoop, you can see it's right on the stitch that we already have. So we're not going to need that. So I almost positively will tell you that we're going to bypass that when we get to it, but we'll see when we get there. All right, and then our quilting design. So that worked out so perfectly. So instead of 30 color steps, we have 15. Look at that, 15 steps, and boom, 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 we're done. We're going to do this twice because we need 4 of these, and then I'll show you how to sew them all together as well, and we're all good to go. And of course my machine is not on. I am going to, since this is the first one of the series, I'm going to show you how to move it to a USB stick, because I get that question a lot. I'll pull that out of my machine. All right, so grab your USB stick. If you have a Solaris or a Luminaire, you can send it to your machine. In fact, I'll show you both ways. Hold on, I got to turn that machine on. Okay, so I turned my machine on. I also put in my USB stick into my computer. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. All right, so when you put your USB stick into your computer, it should pop up like mine has here, and then you can just send it to that design file. If you can send that design file to your USB stick, I don't do it that way. I'll show you what I do. So I'm going to click on the Embroidery Essentials, and I'm going to say, so first I'm going to send it to my machine. That's quick and easy. If you have that as an option, there are other machines that do it as well. I'm not exactly sure the full list of machines that do it, but for mine's the XP1 Luminaire. I'm going to say send to Solaris, and it says if you want to name the design, you certainly can, and say okay, and then file sent to machine. How easy is that? Great option. All right, the other option, I'm going to say file, save stitch file as, and I am going to go to, let's see, my Cuties. It's asking, where do you want to save this? So I'm going to go to Cuties, and I'm just going to put it in here, and I'm going to say Centers July, whatever you want to name it, and say save. You could save it in the folder that has your, I'm just saving it here. This is just a easy way. In fact, I'll do that. I'll go to my Cuties. That's the quilting. Let's see, this is the embroidery file. So I'm going to double click on that folder, double click on here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save it here in all of the other design files. That will make it easier. So I'm going to say Centers July, and I'm going to say ×2 because I have 2 of those designs, and I'm going to save it there. Now, once you've saved it, I saved it to my computer. I prefer to have all of my files on my computer. Then you can open up that folder that you had it in. So I'm going to go to Embroidery Files and Pez, and it was Centers July 2. So once you have that, once you have the file where you want it, say Control C. This is what I do so that you're moving it to that, you're moving a copy of it. So you've always got your original on your computer to save forever for next time that you use it. But then you click on the folder that has your drive. This is my USB drive here. Click on there and say Control V like victory to paste it, and it saves it in there as well. So I've got it on my computer over here. You can see that. And then over here is my USB drive, so that I can just bring that over to my embroidery machine if I chose. And very easy. Copy and paste it, bring it over to that USB drive. Super easy to do, from software to your USB to bring it to your machine. And we're good to go. So let's get stitching. And a quick note I want to say, so I posted in our Facebook group the other day, July 6th, I think was the date. It was our 2-year anniversary from Cristin Creates. And so I posted out that, I'm loving this. It was so much fun. And there were 212 comments of people saying how much that they enjoy our group and how much fun these projects are. And all of us go through rough times, and several posted that they had gone through rough times, and yet seeing these tutorials and working together, and it made them feel like I'm in their sewing room playing along with them. And I just love that. That makes me so happy. So very fun. I'm so glad that you're joining us on this journey, and I appreciate our 2-year mark. We've done it and we're doing great and having fun together. And my shirt today is Do What Makes You Happy. Isn't this a fun one? I love this shirt. I'll add a photo so that you can see it. It's actually from Designs by Juju. It is a bundle, and I'll add information with a link to that bundle. It's a really great shirt. The shirt is an old Target shirt, and a very old Target shirt that I've had sitting in a drawer to be able to embroider, and it's a really fun design. I really like this one. I will add all the information underneath this video. So don't forget to tell me how you're doing with your goal. I want to hear about your goal, what it is, what you're working on toward it. Mine is to build strength. I did a 4-mile walk yesterday, which I mentioned in the prep video, and actually cut up my feet. There are blisters on the bottoms of my toes, and the tops of my feet are cut up from wearing sandals 90 degrees without water, going through this gravel. It was really not a smart move. So I did not do an additional workout yesterday. That 4-mile walk was enough. But tonight I'm back to it. I'm wearing my Hokas, so my feet are definitely feeling better. So I am going to get a run today, and hopefully also some weight training. So that's my plan. No matter how late I am working, how much I have to do, I'm stopping by 9 o'clock to get my workout. So what is your plan? How are you making sure to make time for it? Make yourself a priority. I want to hear how you're doing.